impossible right now with the way we structure our actually IT side. We can really build this sort of foundation to totally comply with the TOGAF recommendations. But specific to your question, is possibility that we're using these types of the guidelines in our analytic projects. So in analytics projects, we're supposed to have a library of the documents and artifacts to show that what we have done through this process. The best practice, is that right? Our recommendation there. Actually, James already creating these types of the library in SharePoint. But any document we're creating there for purpose of the being sure, then people knows exactly where we're going and what as our experience from the perspective of the best practice are going to be documented in SharePoint.
To what Mahmood is talking about, with the centers of excellences that we have created, there is going to be horizontal capability for all the BAs to be able to coordinate and cooperate in order for us to be able to catch the best practices that they are running across those elements. And for example, using Blueprint as one of the examples where we will be able to start depositing these all the business related documents and requirements documents and others. So there is a process that has to go through, right? And I think as the organization starts gelling together, then we will start finding out if there are any gaps that we have to meet in order to achieve that maturity levels.
Any thoughts around an incentive program? It could be TOGAF, it could be ITIL, it could be for anything that provides us the opportunity to do things on our own, outside of our domain, to get these certifications, maybe reimbursement.
You mean you talk about the training and?
Right.
That's an excellent question, Michael. And I'm always looking for entrepreneurship. So if you guys want to go to a training and you want your management to reimburse you outside the training domain, by all means, come and sit down with your manager. But I want the conversation to go something like this. I would like to attend X because I will deliver Y. And as a result of this, you're gonna get Z. So if that conversation revolves around that sequence of events and the reward, absolutely, I'm very open.
Thank you very much. It was very informative. I realize that it's a framework, but are there recommended tools like Arvind mentioned Blueprint, but like Provision and HP Quality Center and things like that? Are there recommendations that go along with this, or is that outside of the TOGAF?
I think TOGAF is in itself abstract. So if there's a tool or something that we need to leverage and go over there, you know, that was one of the slide decks that talked about tools and guidelines, where we can bring those in. And I mentioned earlier in the process, you know, TOGAF can incorporate COBIT, it can integrate it in ITIL. If we determine that, you know, this is the tool that we're going to leverage, I would argue that that's part of our architecture. We need to define what the skills sets requirements, what's the capability, what's the support organization we need to behind that tool, what type of, you know, what's the overhead and, you know, roles and responsibilities of that tool. That all feeds into the TOGAF implementation. Now, if we want to, if you're asking, is there any recommendations per TOGAF? Here's the best tool to use? No, there is not.
You were mentioning that ADF can be applied to various different...
ADM, yes.
ADM can be applied to various kinds of projects. As far as my limited understanding is, I have read that all the projects, they become part of the application framework, which is part of the TOGAF. So if we are trying to iterate through every project using the TOGAF methodology, then we are producing maybe like more than necessary artifacts, and it might hinder our following of the Scrum process kind of.
The thought process there is, this is a guideline, this is a framework that you can leverage. So what I'm saying is if you see something in there that you can leverage and you want to generate a specific artifact, you want to generate a specific document and leverage the TOGAF principle on your project, yes, please do. I'm not saying you have to do it on your individual low-level project. Mahmoud might have a different opinion there, but I was just saying, just start looking at it, start embracing it, start getting your head around it, what it is, and then look at what some of the requirements and just to get a better understanding and help educate yourself about the ADM.
Inside of that, you have different process and practice. Example of that, for example, is Scrum. Example of that is UML. Example of that is different design patterns. Best practice in development, is that right? Example of that maybe be sort of the project management or sort of the agile. So in this case, provide you sort of the enterprise points of the view of the application, but not specific to application. Is that right? Yeah. Because the whole notion here is that bringing the same taxonomy, the same process, the same governance to the lot of the applications in development. But inside of the application, you guys need to follow your best practice.
And Magic Draw does have a plugin for TOGAF.
That's amazing.
This is Celeste, so I just wanted to let you know that.
Thank you.
Whoa.
What G's question was is, for the one of the architecture things that we're trying to do here at PSCU is stand up a PSCU web service catalog. That way, any application can start consuming these web services. So what G's question, correct me if I'm wrong, was, is the oversight team, this governance board, going to be responsible for looking at these web service calls and making a determination of if this is the proper web service call or not to make? I would argue that might be too low level, and that might be part of the ESB team's infrastructure. And then if there's any type of capabilities or gaps that we need to address, then maybe that type of information would flow up to the oversight team and say, hey, look, here's some infrastructure, here's some opportunities for greatness, opportunities and solutions to expand what our current architecture is. Correct.
The time our architecture is going to be effective, that we significantly focusing on the reusability and shareability. Is that right? This is the time when we say we have a productivities. Why reusability and shareability? Because that makes our time to the market faster, make it more efficiency, bring the consistency around the SDLC. Is that right? For that purpose, we needed to implement SOA Architect. SOA Architect is happening at the different layers of the architectures. And one of them is ESB. Is that right? The intention in ESB here is that as much as possible to provide the same connectivities many times or the same plugging many times. Is that right? Or they have the same auditing and tracing capability for all transactions. Is that right? We're not reaching to that point. I'm thinking maybe it takes us maybe 1 year to reach to the points to be productive. We are not yet. One, we're talking about the implementation of the SOA. Another one, we're talking about the process and governance to manage SOA. We sort of start that part right now. We started from perspective of the identifying oversight teams as a governance of the approving, rejecting, or conditionally accepting something that you have been part of. But it still is not enough. Because we needed, actually, Arvin is in charge of the right now building that one. We are going to have application architect governance. We are going to have a change management governance. We are going to have a code review governance. Is that right? That we are going to build it. Is that right? We are in process of doing that one, but you're absolutely right. Even if we have the best proposed guidelines, we need to have a stakeholder to support that. We are going to do it. Questions?
Yes, I have a question regarding instrumentation. Because as far as I understand, this is a guidance. It's, as soon as you start filling it with muscle, you have to take a decision how you can do it, how you will do it. Have you ever give a thought to a rational unified process? I think rational unified process has the best instrumentation ever, the best tooling ever to provide that muscle it is expensive, but right now.
It is expensive.
We are going from the guidance to.
The right guy is sitting here.
As he's digging into his pocket. And for you guys on the phone, Sam's digging in his pocket.
My name is Andrew Thomason.
Enter Thomas. I think what he's talking is absolutely right. What he's talking about that, he's talking about the approach by end-to-end tools. That end-to-end tool is something similar to rational rows.
Right.
That's right. What this tool can do it is starting from requirement up to the implementation and execution and actually maintenance is going to keep track of that and put everything in repository. Every change in that repository is subject to the access level control. So you sort of the managing end to end. Again, this discussion between me and my boss to see if we can get that. Question, please.
You were mentioning that ITIL and TOGAF, like, are they synergic or they are?
See, it's a complementary.
They're complementary.
Yeah. I think you sort of described that.
Yes.
On the
Yeah.
side you mentioned.
Yeah. Because generally, if you pay attention, TOGAF very much focusing on the web services and services as a what we call application as a services. And very much is coming and focusing on that part and saying instead of the UB, for example, right now our company, PSCU, from my perspective, it is very productive, production-centric types of the organization. What we're doing here, we have some products, we're giving these products to users or client or CU members or whatever. The intention here is to move from that production-centrics to this service-centrics. Is that right? Service-centrics enforce different methodology, different process, different life cycles. Is that right? But still the foundation needs to be managed by the TOGAF. But the delivery of that is going to be managed by ITIL. So you can see it's complementary.